This is Moss Cottage, one of Sooke's oldest standing buildings. It was built in 1870 with lumber cut in BC's first successfully operated steam sawmill, the Muir Mill, which was located on the Sooke Harbour. The Muirs were one of the first pioneering families to settle in Sooke. You can still see their pioneer farm, called Woodside, 2 miles west of the museum along the highway. This cottage was built for James Welsh and his bride Mary Ellen. It was named after Mary Ellen's mother's family name back in the old country. Today we invite you to go back to the turn of the last century. Set your imaginary time clock to the year 1902 and we'll call on Matilda Gordon, or Aunt Tilly as she is often called. Matilda is the niece of James and Mary Ellen Welsh and the granddaughter of the original Muirs. In this year of 1902, Matilda has lost her husband, Jack Gordon, through consumption, and she is raising 2 children, Alice and Harry, on her own. Let's knock on her door and see if she will invite us in.
Oh, good day, and won't you come in? Just close the door behind you. I'd like to welcome you to my home. My name is Mrs. Matilda Gordon, but you may call me Tilly or Aunt Tilly as everyone does. I'm very happy to show you through my home. And we'll start here in my bedroom, where you'll see the lovely oak bedroom furniture that was given to me by my late husband Jack while we were still living at Burnside Farm. The set includes the bed, the dresser, and the wash hand stand in the corner. It was made in Ontario and carried west on the Canadian Pacific Railway, then by steamer to the island. I guess the roughest part of its journey was when Arthur Floyd was bringing it by stage from Victoria. He was well on his way when something startled the horses and they reared. He thought he was going to have a runaway and lose the furniture. Thank goodness he got the horses calmed down in time, or my furniture might have ended as kindling along Sooke Way. What a shame that would have been, as I'm very fond of it, especially the carving you see on the various pieces. But I'm so embarrassed. You've caught me before I could get my mending done. My son Harry was playing earlier today. He's accidentally torn the cover of the mattress. I'll have to get it mended soon, or the horsehair will be out into the room. And goodness knows it's hard enough to keep things tidy with young ones around. My mother would be reminding me, the stitch in time saves 9. Above the door are some fishing rods which belong to my dear Jack. May the Lord rest his soul. He loved to go fishing, and I can't bear to part with these. They're made of bamboo. They're originally from Scotland, and I'm told that when they're fully extended, they're so flexible they can be bent into a circle. I'll keep them for Harry in the hopes that he'll be as good a fisherman as his father was. We do miss the fresh trout he used to bring home. Now, if you'd like to come into the children's room. You can see that Alice and Harry share this room. And on the floor between the beds, you'll see they still have their hot water pig out. Now, as you know, it's not normally out at this time of the day, but in the evenings we'll fill that with hot water and tuck it into the ends of the beds. Makes it so much more inviting to climb into a warmed bed, don't you think? Especially on these cold winter's evenings. I'm sorry the children are not here today. They'll be very disappointed to have missed company, but Alice is at school right now and she does enjoy her lessons, and Harry's gone to visit with Cousin Kate Muir across the way at Woodside Farm. On her way home from school, Alice will be stopping by Woodside Farm to collect the mail. It was my father who started the first post office at Woodside and is still in operation, although Edward Milne has had a post office at the river for the past few years. Before we leave the children's room, I'd like to be sure you've seen Alice's dollhouse with all its precious furniture. The furniture was a gift to her from relatives in England. And she and the Milne girls have a lot of fun playing with the dollhouse. When you're finished looking, if you'd like to come through into the parlor. My papa, Michael Muir, was only a lad of 10 when he left Ayrshire, Scotland with his parents, John and Anne Muir, his 3 brothers, and 1 widowed sister. They left Scotland in November of 1848, made their way to London, and from London they set sail on the Harpooner and sailed round Cape Horn and up the coast to Fort Victoria, arriving in Fort Victoria in June of 1849. Imagine a voyage of over 6 months I don't think I should have survived such a journey. My grandfather originally came to America to help oversee proposed coal mines at Fort Rupert for the Hudson's Bay Company, but the menfolk were not pleased with the conditions they found there and decided to settle here instead, where they started building ships, and they had a sawmill as well. During his time of operation, the sawmill sent lumber and spars as far away as San Francisco, South America, Asia, and England. I'd like to show you some of my favorite pieces in the parlor, and one of them is this beautiful basket that was given to me by Mary Lazar. She's the wife of the Indian chief. I'd given her some apples and plums from the trees in the yard. She gave me this beautiful basket in return. It's made of coiled cedar root, it's decorated with cherry bark, and I'm told that it's so tightly woven that it would hold water. However, I prefer to keep sweets or fruit in it. What a treat it is to have our own graphophone. I first heard one of these at the Mugfords boarding house. And if you're visiting with them later today, perhaps you'll have them play their music for you. I find it quite amazing how Mr. Edison gets the music onto these little cylinders. I don't know if you can see the tiny lines on the wax. But it does play beautifully. We like to listen to our graphophone, especially in the evenings while we're doing our spinning or knitting. Our wool all comes from 10 Kitty's farm. Alice is learning to tease and card it. She'll soon be learning to spin. Some of her cousins are already spinning and knitting their own yarn. The tea cloth on the table here was given to me by Kitty. She's used a bramble design, which I'm very fond of. We have such an abundance of these berries in this area. And I do wish I could do my stitching as neatly as Kitty's. Those berries look almost ripe for picking. I was visiting with Kitty the other day. She told me a cougar had come and taken 3 of their lambs. She was alone at the time. Her husband Ted was out fixing the telegraph lines. I do hope she had her smelling salts close by as I do. I would have been so afraid for the safety of the children. It's fortunate I have a strong constitution. I don't require these very frequently. If it had been my friend Mary Poyer out on Kemp's Lake, she would have gone after the cougar herself, and she probably would have caught it as well. The Poyers are all such good hunters. On the hearth, you'll see some crab that was given to me earlier today by my friend Kitty White. She keeps us well supplied with fresh crab since she moved from Sooke, and it will make a welcome change from salt pork. Now, if you'd like to go into the kitchen, I can show you what I was doing when you came to the door. I was just about to make some biscuits. Oh, how useful it is to have my own sifter on my Hoosier cabinet. I can store flour in the top of the bin here. When I want to use it, I'll turn the handle and the flour comes out already sifted. With the new baking powder, I can make lovely light biscuits. And our flour comes from my Uncle John's flour mill. Perhaps you saw it across the way at Woodside Farm. This is a daily reminder, and I can mark off on here what I'm getting low on. When I go to Mr. Mill's store, I can make a shopping list and I won't forget anything. And sometimes when we go to Mr. Mill's store, we'll take some butter, which we've made in our churn, and then we'll use our press to block it, and we can take it to trade, and we'll trade for such things as a felt naphtha soap you see on the shelf, or for coal oil for my lamps. My cousin Douglas slaughtered pigs in the fall, so I still have some bacon and some ham. This dried salmon was given to me by Mary Lazar. I do hope you've enjoyed your tour, and I'll step out of character now. Perhaps you have any questions.